If you need help with your books, listen up. Carla and Joe and the entire team at Cycle CPA is Brian's go-to firm for accounting services. Now, if you're in the market for a CPA that focuses in on our industry, go listen to episode 288 of the podcast or check out the free webinar for Fullerton Unfiltered listeners that takes place Thursday night, January 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You do need to register for the webinar, and it focuses on business cash flow management and accounting best practices for those that are in lawn care and landscaping. The link is in the show description, and if you decide to utilize their bookkeeping or CPA services, please mention Brian to save yourself $200.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no-nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys today, and super excited about having another guest interview on the podcast for you guys. Well, a lot of you guys are just out there kicking butt, and a lot of you guys are young, you're young in business, and you're in that 15 to 18, maybe 15 to 20, 25 crowd, just out there making it happen, figuring things out. Well, today, this podcast is really going to resonate and relate with you. We've got none other than Trevor Leigh on the phone with us today, and he's joining us from Rockford, Michigan. So, Trevor, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing this morning?
Good. How about you, man?
Doing good, man. We're just kind of hanging out at the house right now, and we're going to be working on some equipment in the garage here in a minute. Just kind of chilling, to be honest with you. No snow the last couple of days, no snow in the 10 days, so we're just kind of hanging out. How about you guys?
It's almost kind of a weird change of pace because we were kind of gazelle intense from spring, summer, and fall.
Sure.
And we learned a ton of cleanups. We got help from other companies. We got 2 new guys that are awesome on the team. But I mean, without snow, I mean, it's almost weird. It's kind of lonely. But I mean, I kind of need it. I mean, my girlfriend's been pushing me, telling me that I need the time to myself, but I love being at the truck plowing. It's, that's what I live for.
I feel it right now, man. It's right now we actually just came back from vacation about a week or two ago, and for us personally, we're, like you said, we're kind of downshifting a gear. So it's kind of, I don't know, in the Midwest and Michigan area, at least for us in Michigan, if it ain't snowing, there's not too much you can do. And then, of course, you can always drive Uber or go work at Amazon or go get a part-time job. That's totally fine. And I encourage that if you need to make the extra income, of course. But if you have a decent business and it's supporting you and you got your ducks in a row, and it's okay with kind of just relaxing a little bit. We all go so hard, like you were just saying, in the spring, summer, and fall, where it's okay to kind of change paces and maybe have a little bit more family time or personal time in the winter. So, well, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about you and your story, because we were DMing back and forth on Instagram, and you got a great business going. You are a young buck out there making it happen. And I've really been enjoying lately interviewing and getting to just here's so much of success with the younger crowd out there. It's just bizarre to me, like how well so many of you guys are doing with good equipment, good coaching, YouTube, social media, and getting the knowledge and growing these businesses with your guys' like excitement, fearlessness, work ethic. I think it's really, really changing the paradigm for a lot of people out there about what a 15 to 20-year-old can actually do in the green industry. So let's do this really quick, Trevor. Can you give me like a minute or two, maybe like we call it the highlight reel or a snapshot about what your business looks like today? And then in a minute here, we'll get into the depths of it with your whole story.
Absolutely, man. So I'm 17 years old. I live in Rockford, Michigan, not too far away from Brian, probably about 2.5 hours. I started my business when I was, I'd say, 8 to 9 years old. I saved up $75 and I bought a used push mower. And I mean, I started cutting grass 1 to 2 lawns a week. I had no client base. I had nothing. And I always saw trailers go by that had weed whackers, edgers, blowers, and I didn't so much need them yet, but I knew it was something I was going to grow into. And I didn't have a spare $1,000 burning a hole in my pocket, nor did my parents.
Sure.
And I was always raised, if you want something, you go and take it. You work for it. We don't give handouts. And my mom had this brilliant idea. She said, how about you go down to Meijer? How about you go down to Costco and we go get a variety pack of candy bars and you sell Reese's, Hershey's, and Kit Kats.
Sure.
3 for $5. and you tape your business card to it. And that way you are making money to put towards your equipment, but you're also putting your business card and burning a 10-year-old's mind into these customers that, oh my gosh, he wants it. And sometimes you get generous people that would buy everything he has. Sometimes you get people that say, no, stop soliciting. But over the course of that summer, I saved up enough money to buy a weed whacker, edger, and blower. And I started offering cleanups. I started offering edging. And at that point, I still only had probably 2 customers. And just getting my name out there, I mean, just starting from such a young age and actually getting people to listen to me gave me that confidence to take on accounts that are $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year now. Back in the summertime, our highest, we did lose a few, but we were doing 63 lawns a week consistently for most of the year. Tractor supplies, Subways, and a ton of commercial stuff. I did get some sub work to start my business, but I got so many of my own customers, so many of new commercial people, and being able just to open up the door and, talk to this person who owns this multi-million-dollar company, and they treat you like an adult because, you give them the respect that they deserve. But we had 2 guys running for, in the springtime. We had a landscaping crew, and then we had, a lawn mowing crew, and it was just a 2-man lawn mowing crew, but we were still able to do 3 days of work, 3 12-hour days back to back, Monday through Wednesday. And then we'd work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do mulch, rock, hardscapes, and we just kind of went from there. And then I knew I wanted to get into the snow plowing business. I didn't realize how expensive some of the stuff was. And, I saved up. I bought a pretty new truck. I bought some nice snow plows. We have a really good sidewalk crew. We do 11 Rockford public schools along with drive-throughs and public sidewalks for the city of Rockford. And I mean, we built a phenomenon. It was definitely something awesome this year. We opened up the door for our business.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, you guys are listening in. You're hearing a 17-year-old. Just a quick reminder here. This guy's not 30 years old, right? So it's actually really, really cool, really exciting because, I just don't know any other way to say it. I see so many people that maybe aren't thinking big, or maybe they're not willing to work hard, poo-poo on so many of the younger generation. And there's a lot of folks out there that are lazy, but there's a lot of folks attracted to our industry that are very ambitious, and they work for it and they kick butt. And it's so interesting to me to see people discredit younger folks with daddy's money or parents' money or this or that. And it's so weird to me because I'm thinking I did the exact same thing you guys are doing. Now I, have a whole different story from 16 to 20. I went and worked for somebody else and, basically took a 4 or 5 year hiatus off from the industry, but came right back to it at 2021. But I always think to myself, what if I had the knowledge of a Stanley Dirt Monkey or some of these other YouTube guys back in the day? What if I had some encouragement from my parents and maybe somebody just looking over my shoulder, helping me manage my money a little bit better? There's no doubt in my mind that I would have been just like so many of you guys, the Trevors out there, the Christian from CNIs, the Henricks from the Lawn Care Kid. I mean, these young guys out there, listen, if you guys are listening in, the limit is really what you put on your own mind and your own work ethic. Because,
Absolutely.
We're just going to jump into it because, people always ask me when I do coaching calls, Trevor, we do one-on-one coaching, and people, I have a lot of great conversations with so many great people, and the conversations are, far and wide from guys that are just getting started to guys that are 10 years in trying to go to the next level. And people always ask me hey, what's typical question I get? What can a first year lawn care business owner make? And I'm like, dude, it's really up to you. I don't want to put a cap on that. And they go, well, 30, 50, 80,000. I said, yeah, those are all realistic goals. But I also know people, I did a coaching call with a guy in his first year in business. He did $800,000. And so I don't want to ever limit anybody who's listening to the podcast. And so here's my point. When you guys listen to this young buck named Trevor right here, you guys got to pay attention. He's doing 6 figures at 17 years old. He's kicking butt. So Trevor, let's take us all the way back to the beginning. You were 8, 9, 10 years old. What was the, maybe just to lighten it up a little bit, what was the motivation to make money and hustle and to be an entrepreneur? Because, at 8, 9, 10 years old, there's 100 other things you could be doing, right?
So this one's it's completely unrelated from lawn care, but when I was younger, there was a gun called the Ultimate Muzzleloader. I'm kind of a gun fanatic. I love them. If you don't, more power to you, whatever.
I'm a big gun guy lately, last 18, 24 months. I've always been a big gun guy, but actually pulled the trigger on guns the last 2 years. And with how much I've bought in the last 2 years, I'm I'm all about freedom and everything, but I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody should be able to buy as much as I did in the last 18 months and not get a letter or somebody checking up on you. That's it's a little alarming, but tell us a little bit more about the gun that you, was it like an airsoft gun or a real gun, or shoot me straight?
So it was called the Ultimate Muzzleloader, and it's a muzzle-loaded gun. So a normal muzzleloader, it's like you think of like Revolutionary War. You have ball, you have powder, you have your primer.
Yep.
It's a complicated way. So this gun, it had a bolt action on it. It's just a super advanced gun. It was a 1-of-1, blah, 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 blah. So my dad came home with it, and I'm like, Dad, I really, really want one. And I'll mind you, I was 6 years old when I first saw this. And I'm like, Dad, This is so sweet. He's like, well, the base price is $1,900. They're custom built. He said, this one's about $23. And I had $19 saved, and I said, all I need is $100 more and I'll have it. He's like, no. So over the course of 18 months, me and him, we picked up pop cans together. You know, alcoholics paid for this gun. People that littered on the side of the road, people that left their cans everywhere paid for this gun. And I saved up $1,900 in 18 months from age 6 to roughly 8. And I paid cash for this gun. And when I was younger, I thought that it was just, oh my God, I have this gun. It feels like such a victory. It's awesome. But as I've gotten older and a little bit wiser, I've definitely noticed that it wasn't about the gun. It was about the journey getting there. And I can't honestly say that I did this by myself, because that'd be an absolute lie. I had so much help from so many people, but it was never the help that most people direct with me, handouts. I never was just given money. It was always given opportunity to make money and make something of my own. And just being able to have that gun and look at it and think about the story behind it, it just really has inspired me that I'm unstoppable. And if I want to build $1 million a year business, I damn well will. I mean, I can.
Yes, that's awesome.
And it really depends on your motivation for it, because he was talking about income caps, like how much can I expect to make? And the first year is rough. It really is. And I'd say even the first 5 years are rough, because you're trying to get your name out there. You're trying to keep consistent clientele. And that's the obvious struggle. But where people start to get a little bit farsighted is they just look at it as a money standpoint. I do what I love. I get in my truck with my plows on it and I plow someone's driveway, and I love what I do. I mean, we've had rough times. We've had 7 breakdowns this year. We've had 9 snow events over here. That's pretty bad odds, but I still love what I do at the end of the day, and I have a great team. I have guys that have came over after they're done plowing to help me fix equipment.
That's awesome.
I mean, I have a really good team.
Well, let me ask you this. I just did a quick Google. Is it a Remington 700 Ultimate? Is that what it is, or what was the name of the gun? I'm just kind of curious now.
So it was originally made by Ken Johnston, and then he sold the rights to Remington, but he uses a Remington bolt action.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a empty bullet with just a primer in it, so just the casing, and that is your primer. So you chamber it versus stuffing it all down the barrel.
Okay.
It's just kind of unique, and they're accurate up to 500 yards. They shoot 195 grains of powder with a 300 grain bullet. It's a 50 caliber bullet.
Jeez.
It's pretty wicked gun.
That is pretty cool. It's so funny. Just a couple of days ago, I told Liz I wanted to buy a Barrett 50 cal, and you can get them for like 8 to 12 grand, maybe more. It just depends. And she goes, "Why?" I go, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know. I need a stretch goal. I need a goal to buy something completely stupid." A couple years ago it was a 4-wheeler. It was like 12 grand, just loaded. I said, last year was the Tesla, but I had been working on that one for like 5 years. I said, I don't know. I said, it's either that or, getting an Audi R8, which, I don't know. I'm a big Audi Lambo guy. I said, one day, and that day could come sooner than we think. Who knows? But she goes, so any which way, I'm a big gun nut. All my gun friends out there have said it's an addiction that you can't, cure. And I'm kind of realizing that. So I think they need to check into something, you know what I'm saying? But,
absolutely.
But good for you, man. That's really, really cool. And the one thing I wanted to just derive out of that conversation was you saying like it was the journey, to getting that reward, that goal. And so many people have quoted, the success is a journey, not a destination. And I think that's a really, really good one. And when you're in the journey, frankly, it sucks. You don't want to hear that stuff because you just want the end goal. You're like, can I just get the nice thing or the finished product or the built whatever? But then you kind of realize, like, what if these were like the good old times? What if these were the good old days, like the Instagram reel says? And so you learn so many lessons about persistence, consistency, like you said, work ethic. Probably had to go pick up cans when it was rainy days or snowy days or bad days or hot days, or your friends are playing at the pool or whatever. So you learn all these lessons that translate, into hard work that, frankly, a whole generation is missing these days because they were just given everything and they didn't have to work for it. So kudos to you, as long story short, is what I want to say. So let's fast forward on this timeline. You were saying 8, 9, 10 years old, the motivation was to make some money, buy this gun. And then did you always know that you would do stuff with the green industry, or what got you into cutting grass and doing landscaping?
So I didn't actually really think. I simply did it because I couldn't get a job at my local grocery store.
Okay.
And I just wanted a job so I could save up for, a car, guns, whatever, my interest. Mm-hmm. And as I started getting a little bit older, I'd say about the 15-year-old mark, that's when the business started to be, okay, this isn't just a hobby. This is a business. This is serious. And I mean, I did it because like I said, I wanted the money, but I also found out that this is something that I love and I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. I don't come from a family where our family can afford tuition to college. Mm-hmm. And it was always something that was set to me and my sister that we have to save up for. And instead of saving up for college, I had a little bit of money saved and I put it as a down payment towards an X-Mark. And I'm like, if I do this, I'm for real. I mean, I'm going to do this. And I mean, I did it. It was a dream of mine to have a nice mower, but it wasn't just like the muzzleloader. It wasn't about how expensive it was. It was simply about that I achieved, that much hard work to be able to do this. And at this point, at 15 years old, I was at 11 customers a week, which was huge. I mean, that was awesome. Yeah. And then when I got my driver's license, that's when it kind of kicked off from there, because that was my biggest restraint. Not being able to drive, having my mom drive me everywhere. But huge shout out to her, because without her, I don't think I'd be where I'm at.
Yeah, I was always going to say, man, shout out to the moms and the dads, because without them believing in us and shuttling us around or dealing with all of our crap or helping us sharpen lawnmower blades or change oil back in the day, they're kind of like the early angel investors. You know what I mean? So
yes, they're priceless, dude.
Make sure you take care of them when you keep hitting it big. So. Well, let's go into the last couple of years of you actually sent me a paragraph on Instagram, and we were just talking back and forth, getting to know each other more. And I said, tell me a paragraph or two about yourself. And you had shown me some revenue numbers, and you were really excited about sharing some of this on the podcast. I said, you can share as much as you want or as little as you want. It's frankly nobody's business. But at the same point, you were like fired up to let people know, like, dude, you can make a really good run at a lawn landscape company at 15, 16, 17 years old. Like, you don't have to be 30 years old to do $100,000 in revenue.
Absolutely not. It's simply just an age. It's simply just an age that I'm not speaking for everyone, but I strongly believe that there's some adults out there that just don't want to see a kid succeed. And as soon as that younger person does better than them, they almost take it as an attack. Mm-hmm. And then there's some adults that are just head over heels excited for you. They're cheering you on every step of the way. They're there through the worst. They're there through the best. And that would be my family. That'd be my close neighbors, other competitive companies that when I've had hard times, they still come in and, treat me like I'm family.
That's awesome.
And I totally agree, man.
Yeah. Well, I've thought this thought many times. I've thought it through, like, just in my own quiet time, my own quiet headspace. I'm like, I've never, ever literally can remember ever like bashing somebody. Like, literally, I've just never grew up that way. It was always cheer the other guy on. It was always just be a big team player. Like, I've never seen the type of comments that get left on my YouTube channel, even about me, and I'm like a 30-year-old old fart, but I see what people, say about the younger guys out there, or 17-year-olds or 20-year-olds. I literally made a post about 2 years ago with a 15-year-old kid who had an X-Mark Laser Z, and it was 80 comments deep, 40 of them, great job, 40 of them, daddy's money. And I'm just like, this kid literally bought this with his own sweat and his own work ethic and with his, his dad's help. And it's like, none of this was daddy's money. Like the kid literally grew up a lawn care business in one of the neighborhoods I do work in. He's got like 8 or 9 lawns in there. And I'm like, I've literally seen this kid put this together, but I've just never, I don't know. Like if you guys want to do something for the industry, encourage the young guy and stick up for him. Because put the 30-year-old loser in check, because I just cannot imagine how pathetic that person's life has to be behind the scenes to put down a young person who's out there making it happen. And frankly, like even on the flip side, even if the kid's dad invested into the kid to go cut grass and to work at it, and he just needed a little head start, like what's wrong with that? Even if he did, I wish that
absolutely.
I just
absolutely.
That's the goal. Like Liz and I, so Liz and I are supposed to become millionaires, right? Over the next 10, 20 years, just like everybody else listening in. And then what are we supposed to do? Tell our kids, nope, you're a loser. I'm going to put you in a Ford, Topaz, and then put you in a double wide trailer. I just like, wouldn't you want to help your kids like stand on your shoulders? I just don't understand the logic, but I think where that comes from is just this very, very petty, very, very loser class. It's not even a middle class thing. It's just this loser class that's out there that just do not want to see somebody else succeed. And that's just the poison that's in our culture right now of like just capitalism. People just don't want to see other people succeed. And that's the end of my rant, but let's get back to you, Trevor. So talk about revenue, man. You said you got your license and business started booming because you sent me this spread from 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 2017, 18, 19. You're doing $2, $3, $4, $6 grand a year. And then the last 3 years, you've exploded to 6 figures and then multiple 6 figures. So what's going on there, dude? Like, is it just the license or just business booming or what?
So I don't think, I've always learned not to get like too excited, because back in one of the years I sent you, there was like $6 grand income, and I never had, earned that type of money. And I always held on to it, not in a fear of losing it, but just knowing that this will not always happen. It's not always going to be just millions and millions of dollars at once. It's a slow and steady process. And sometimes you lose some, sometimes you win some. We had a point where we lost 6 commercial clients, and that's 30, 40 grand if you base that on a yearly basis. And, I didn't freak out, but I just look at that and I'm like, that's cash flow money to go buy a dump truck. That's cash flow money to go buy a brand new Ventrac. You know what I mean? Like you're not out of business, but you feel the bite, and you got to just calm down for a second and figure out, where did it go wrong? Did I simply get outbidded? What went wrong? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'd say from 2019, 2020, it was like my first big year. I made like 38 grand, 37 grand.
Yep.
And we used that money. I paid off debt that I had, because I'm not ashamed to say this at all, but my dad, he financed a mower in his name, and it was for 4 years. And I'm like, he always told me one thing. He's like, this is not your line of credit. He said, pay it off as soon as you can. He said, just always try to stay out of debt. And I did that. I did that in like 7 months.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to 2020 winter time, I saved up enough money to buy a nice snowblower. And I had a friend that let me use an enclosed trailer, and I used that with my truck. I worked for another company, and I plowed on a quad, did a bunch of sidewalk accounts, which got me into sidewalks. And then right after, I dropped the quad off at his house, used my snowblower, and I did 11 driveways. Yeah.
Time out really quick. What plow was, or what quad was that? Because I had a lot of young guys listening to the show. They might have a 4-wheeler and they might be able to make some money. So what were you charging with the quad, and what quad was that?
So the quad, it was a 2019 Polaris 450. Okay. I don't love it, but it's not a bad utility quad. If you're simply just trying to work, great quad. If you're trying to do other stuff, not the best.
Right.
But it had a Boss 5-foot hydraulic plow, and it was just a super efficient setup. I had a little pod light on the back, and we were able to do driveways for $20, $25, which as I'm getting older, wasn't that much money.
Sure.
But dude, I made like $3 grand that winter time.
Yeah.
And I used every bit of it to pay for an 18-foot trailer to trailer around all my new mowers.
Okay. Nice.
Back to your initial question for income for 2021, we made $229,000 gross, And that was over the course of, call it 13 months, because, back in December of the previous year, I got 2 big contracts, and I'll count that. But so for 13 months is $229,000. We did 36, 37 mulch jobs. We did like 8 rock jobs. We did a ton of lawn mowing, a ton of snow plowing, salt. I was learning irrigation, learning concrete, learning tree work. And I mean, these are all the tree work, the irrigation, and the concrete was stuff I had no prior knowledge on.
Okay.
I went down to competitive companies and said, look, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. Can I work for you for free? I have guys that can do mulch jobs with their eyes closed. Can I leave them here and I work with you for a week or two and I just learn how you run your business, whether I like it, hate it? Brian, he has not come to his senses and he's not gotten a back blade yet, but no hate there, because guess what? He does things different, and so does everyone else. Things that I do in my business, people would look at it and be like, why would you do that now?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a belief that it works better. You might just use a front plow because there's something about it that just works for you. Whether it's a budget, whether it's preference, whatever it is. We had guys that said, dude, don't go out and buy 2 mowers. You don't have that account yet. And I said, dude, I have a gut feeling. I said, I have all of this lined up. I need 3 more big accounts and I can just rake in the money with these 2 mowers. And I was right.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was times like where I bought an aerator and it was a good idea in my head, but I only really broke even on it.
Okay.
I never raked in the money. It was just something I wanted to add to my services. But I mean, just kind of experimenting with stuff like that and, learning other people's ways, because there's more than one way to build a bridge. And, my neighbor down the road from Exterior Refresh, big shout out to him. He's big into tree work. He's kind of stubborn with lawn care. He's just not his thing, but he's also doesn't have very much experience. But when it comes down to cutting down a tree, it could be hanging over the White House and he has it done perfectly.
Wow.
I mean, he's just really seamless. He has a good team. And he's learning a lot from me, but I've learned almost everything from him and other companies because people are willing to help me.
Well, that's awesome.
And
Well, let me ask you this. One question I get a lot, no right or wrong answer, is how do you deal with school and the business? Because that's what I normally get, not pushback, but just a question of how do you balance both from the younger guys to also the parents? Because a lot of parents shoot me DMs and hey, my kid's Donald Trump Jr. over here taking over the world, but he needs to do good in school. And I'm like, why? But no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, yeah, no, I understand that. And just having some fun, relax. Graduate high school, kids. That's my minimum requirement. I keep telling you guys. After that, you do whatever you want. But I think being self-employed is the way to go. But how do you, Trevor, personally manage both school and running a 6-figure business? That's no small feat.
So for, I'd say 2021, 2022, we in our school district, we have trimesters, and I didn't quite know what to expect because I always tell people this is my second serious year in business. Even though I've been doing it since I was younger, this is my first, these are my first real years.
Sure.
And I was I kept thinking how do I want to do this? Because right now everything's on a calendar. Come wintertime, we could get snow every single day for 3 months. And guess what? I failed school. So I took 8 classes. Would be summertime or end of summertime into fall. I took 8 classes. And then for wintertime, I only have 3 classes.
Okay.
So I did all that stuff right after work. Sometimes I would take off a Friday and let the guys go work. And I would simply just do schoolwork. My teachers had no idea about my business and they thought I was just sitting on my ass doing nothing. But I had to literally take days off because I was getting behind in school. And, even though I'm not going to go to college, that's not the plan. It's still very important to me to maintain a good grade, respect my parents for them helping me with school, respect my counselors. And I just made it a priority every bit as my business is.
That's awesome.
And I did school, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning or just took off days. But with only having 3 classes in the wintertime, it's awesome because I can spend 2 to 3 days a week doing nothing but schoolwork and I have the rest of the week off.
Amen.
Whether it's fixing equipment or if we time it right and we go and snow plow. So
nice. Well, good. That's good, man. And I'm really excited to hear that. I know so many guys that are in high school and even in college that are doing both. Believe it or not, are 4 points at school and college while they're running a successful business. Like, it is possible. And that's the thing. I don't know. I just get so fired up because when you really get around, I've said this before on a podcast, but if you when you think you're winning, and you're having a great time and life is good and you're like, man, I'm a winner. And then you get around somebody who's really winning and there's always a bigger fish, and I'm not trying to diminish anything that somebody's doing or myself or you guys, you guys know what I'm saying. But like, you think you're winning until you get around somebody who's actually winning. And I heard somebody like Ed Milet say that even once, more recently. He's like, y'all think you're doing good. He goes, but compared to me, you're not doing anything. And it wasn't this like, egotistical thing. It was this bravado. He was just saying like, you're doing good compared to who? And so I get a lot of people all the time, to go full circle to what we were saying earlier. They're like, well, I just don't understand how you could do it all. And that's fine. If you don't understand it, or you don't want to understand it, you're not trying to understand it. Like, it's not our job to sell or convince you to have ambition to go succeed in a business of your own. I'm just done arguing or justifying or having little Instagram wars with random clown people that are like, there's no way a 16-year-old can do 200 grand. I'm like, you're right. In your mind, that doesn't exist. In the meantime, homie over here is going to go file a tax return for $200,000. He made $70,000 profit on that. And, congratulations going back to your double wide trailer. And
exactly.
And little dude over here who's 17, 18, 19 is going to buy his first house at 20, 21 years old. And not that that's the goal, but he has options. He has choices. He's getting his life in order at 21 that most people didn't do at 30. And so I go full circle because I've answered this question a bunch of times. What can you make your first year doing lawn care? I don't know. It's up to you. How hungry are you? How ambitious are you? Like, how much do you want to work? How little do you want to sleep? Some people literally enjoy spending time with their pillow more than they do working. And that's fine. That's totally cool. Just if you're that guy, just don't bash the 16, 18, 30-year-old guy who's out there working 90 hours a week to make it happen. It's just be fair. I don't know, man. Like, but society and people in general are just not mature enough to really understand, like, dude, somebody else might be better than you, and that's okay. And you know what? Here's what I do. I give you guys a platform to tell your story because I want to tip my hat to you guys. And I always joke, hey, remember me when you guys are successful, okay? Because I don't think we're the standard by any means. I'm trying to race and catch up to all of you young guys that are just blazing a trail. So Trevor, man, you've got it going on. I couldn't be more excited for you and what you got going on right now. Let me ask you this really quick. Maybe we'll land the plane right here to not make it a super lengthy episode, but what's the plan for the next 3, 4, 5 years? Where's you and your business going, and maybe the help that you guys have? Are you taking this thing the full way, building a multi-million-dollar business? Are you going to college? No right or wrong answer, but what's the future look like for you?
So for my company, we've cash flowed probably 70% of our equipment. I paid myself a salary this year, very, very little salary. Mm-hmm. We're talking under $50,000.
Sure. And
it seems like a ton as a kid, but just set aside my age, think about the equipment, the insurance, the liability, the breakdowns. $50,000 is, not a ton of money.
No.
It's a good amount of money, but it's not a lot. And my goal is to have my business debt free by September. And after that, I have a good savings going, I have a good emergency fund, and I'm going to be paying for a house in cash at 21 years old. And if the house does not work out, I'm buying a chunk of property and I'm building my own pole barn, and I'm going to try to get a permit. I'm going to build a house on it. That's literally my dream, and it's to live on a piece of property relatively close to my work area. And, if it ends up being a year or two later, that's totally fine, because what I've learned from doing everything I do is not to rush it. Right. Because if you rush it, you start making crazy decisions, stuff goes wrong. And we've had, I'm not going to say close calls, but we've had a few times where it's like, I think I know everything I'm talking about. And then I have a friend come in and he's like, dude, do not do this right now. Just wait. And he's totally right. I'm not perfect by any means. I literally get a lot of my success, all of my success, from advice of other successful people. I don't hang around your drinking, your drug addict friends, the kids in high school that don't even know, what day it is, because they're always, out of it. They're always skipping. They're always doing drugs. They're doing something wrong. And it's like, if that's how you want to spend your life, don't bring it around me. Mm-hmm. When I'm 25 years old and you ask me for a job because you have nothing left, I'm not going to be mean to you, but I'm going to laugh at you because there's so many people that are disconnected. And, you know, my dream is to have that piece of property every bit as my dream was to have that muzzle loader. It's simply a goal. It's simply a desire. And I have the fire left in me to keep fighting for it because I want it. I mean, it's literally my dream. And I think in the next 5 years, we'll be running a multi-million-dollar company. You know, it just depends on how bad I want it. And I want it bad.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on everything that you got going on. And thanks for taking time to be on the show as well. And maybe we'll get like a mid-season update from you maybe next spring. Do you graduate high school this year? Is that the idea, or what's that look like?
So I'm actually a junior.
Oh, okay.
I have a whole another year after this to go, but
cool.
Senior year is going to be a little bit tougher, but I mean, I've done it for 5 years now, so there's no reason I can't graduate senior year. I'm excited to graduate and thank all my counselors for their help with my journey. Yeah,
well, I'm sure they're excited to shoo you out the front door as well. You know what I'm saying? So, so just having fun. The reason I ask is because in June, I'm going to try to get over to the west side of the state, and we'll do a little tour because Jake's Quality Lawn Care is over there. You're over there. I know a bunch of other people in Grand Rapids to Ada to all over the area. And then also, you know, Muskegon area. So maybe sometime this summer, once you guys get out of school and all that mess, we get a little bit more time. We can all catch up on a weekend tour or something for a couple hours and hang out and do some actual videos for YouTube and show you guys rigs and setups and all that other fun stuff. So, all right, Trevor, we're going to land the plane here. I got one final question for you, and it's a tough one. You ready for it?
Oh my gosh, let's hear it.
All right, what's your ultimate gun purchase at your age? If you were going to pick a new pistol or a rifle or whatever, what's your gun of choice that you were looking for, that you'd have as much excitement for that you did buying the other one back when you were 8-9 years old?
Oh man, you're gonna hear some silence for a second. I got to think on this one.
I know. It's a tough question, man. We'll limit it to only one. You only get to pick one, so you got to pick the best of. You know what I mean?
Man, dude, you're evil. This is impossible.
I know.
He's asking the unreasonable questions,
well,
guys. Get off this podcast. He's not fair.
Well, everybody always asks me the tough questions, so I'm like, you know what? I get to ask you guys the tough questions. I only joke because, man, I had so many of you guys say that you love talking guns and love talking about watches on a couple of the more recent episodes we did. We did one with a guy named Owen, and really, really good podcast. And I had about 5 or 6 other people shoot me like their watch of choice if money was no option. And I had some pretty good, couple people said some Rolexes, some Hublots, some Breitlings, and some other like big dog watches that you guys are working for. Hey, look, I like nice things, okay? It is what it is. So I like some nice things too. And that's why we work hard to take care of our family and then also buy some of the trinkets. All right, time's up, Trevor. It's either this or we're going to give you a little 22 pistol, and that's it. So
there's a lot of sweet 22 pistols, but
I'm actually looking at a 22 pistol right now just for an extra gun the other day.
Probably my dream gun would be you need a class 3 for this because it's full auto, people, but a British Sten gun from World War II. I don't just love it for how cool the gun is. I love the history and the evolution of it. Mm-hmm. I love a lot of World War II guns, but it's called a British Sten gun, 9mm, fully automatic. And it's a badass gun. It's pretty freaking cool.
Hey, good looking out, man. What's the sticker on one of those? Like $1,000, $5,000, $25,000?
Depending on if you get Polish proof marks on it or if they're occupied Sten guns where they're redesigned from Germany, they have Nazi proof marks.
Wow.
You're like 15 to 40,000 depending on condition.
Sure.
And there's no rush on it. It's simply just one day.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's definitely a cool gun, and me and my dad are thinking about taking a trip next year down to Battlefield, Las Vegas, and you can you pay a few $100 and you get to shoot a ton of full auto guns, a ton of World War II guns, just machine guns. It's really freaking cool.
I've seen stuff like that on Instagram. I always wonder where those places are, because Caleb Allman and I want to go do Hellebaken. I think it's in Texas. So you get the helicopter and you hang off the side and you go shoot boars and all that mess.
Oh my God. Awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's like $1,500 a person. We were gonna do it when we did this marriage conference in Waco, Texas, and it was a couple hours south. But Caleb and I came to the conclusion that our wives would probably kill us if we left to go do that that week, and so we kind of put that one on the dream board for now. And I don't know if anybody's got to hook up at Hellebaken, holler at your boy. I'll do a YouTube video and we'll we'll give you guys some exposure for letting us rock and roll out the side of a helicopter. But anyway, that's awesome, man. Well, good for you. I'm excited for everything that you got going on, man. Like I said, we'll maybe get a mid-season update, whether it's a podcast or an in-person YouTube video. But if people want to catch up with you or maybe link up, maybe they're in the area, they want to work with you guys or subcontract or just network in general. You said you're in the Rockford, Michigan area, which is east of Grand Rapids. Where can people find you? Are you on social, Instagram, Facebook? Let these guys know where they can keep up with you.
I prefer Instagram. I don't really do much on Facebook other than buy stuff I shouldn't, but
sure.
Instagram, if you don't mind me shouting myself out.
Yeah.
New Edge Lawn Care LLC, and you'll find me there.
Awesome, man. Well, good stuff. Well, we'll button up right here, man. Appreciate you taking time to be on the show. Thanks for the support over the years. You said you've been watching on YouTube since like 2016. We were trying to figure out, based on my equipment setup, you're like, well, you had the new trailer, but you didn't have it wrapped, and then you had the old truck. And I'm like, well, that was like 2000. Wow. Yeah, I was like, that's like 2016, man. So thanks for hanging with us in all of our squirreliness, making videos and doing the best we can the last 4 or 5 years. If you guys maybe just found us on the podcast, you don't know, we have a banging YouTube channel, Brian's Law Maintenance. There's like 850 videos there, and such a good time there with how-tos, reviews, daily vlogs, all that other stuff. So maybe consider subscribing there if you guys want to check that out. But Trevor, thanks again for the time, brother. Super appreciate you, man, and wish you nothing but the best in 2022.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Everyone give Brian a follow if you already don't. I mean, his content is so inspirational. I mean, he has some pretty good stories about how he started too. And I mean, he is a living example of someone who was told he couldn't and he did, and he's achieved very, very good success. And just watch, he runs his business differently than a lot of people, but it works for him, and he has a team of guys that love him. He's a really good guy. Thanks, brother. Well, at the end of the day, something that we do a little bit different is make money. And that's a whole nother story. So profitability is where it's all at, you know? So, all right, man. We'll appreciate you. And guys, again, make sure you give Trevor a follow, New Edge LLC on Instagram. And that's what we got for you guys today. So if you guys enjoy the podcast, we super appreciate you listening in. Maybe really quick before you hit to the next track or go to a different podcast, if you guys want to scroll down, you can hit those 5 purple stars for 5-star rating and review. Maybe leave a couple sentences. It takes like 2 seconds to do. We super appreciate that. It really goes a long way to kind of reciprocating for the podcast and just helping it rank and get surfaced more and all that fun stuff. So, all right, guys, we're going to button up right here. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, to hear a little bit more from today's show sponsors and show announcements, and then we'll catch up with you guys here on the next one.
If you need help with your books, listen up. Carla and Joe and the entire team at Cycle CPA is Brian's go-to firm for accounting services. Now, if you're in the market for a CPA that focuses in on our industry, go listen to episode 288 of the podcast or check out the free webinar for Fullerton Unfiltered listeners that takes place Thursday night, January 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You do need to register for the webinar, and it focuses on business cash flow management and accounting best practices for those that are in lawn care and landscaping. The link is in the show description, and if you decide to utilize their bookkeeping or CPA services, please mention Brian to save yourself $200.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.